What a wonderful world it would be if every time a price increased, someone came and gave me cash to make it up to me. This doesn't happen in the real world, and so the compensated budget that we've drawn in panel B is a purely hypothetical budget. It allows us to isolate the substitution effect. But point B is not where the consumer ends up. When all is said and done, this consumer will have to switch to a lower indifference curve. She will have to choose one of the magenta bundles on the final budget constraint. But now that we have the compensated green budget and the magenta final budget, we're looking at two parallel budgets, and so we now can isolate a pure income effect for the rest of the change in the behavior. Suppose the actual bundle our consumer chooses from her final budget constraint is bundle C. The way we've drawn it, bundle C lies to the left of bundle B, indicating that the consumer decreases her consumption of gasoline as the compensation that we hypothetically gave to her is removed. The switch from the green budget to the magenta budget is simply a parallel shift in the budget, so we can say that this consumer reduces her consumption of gasoline as her income falls. Gasoline is therefore a normal good for this consumer, because its consumption moves in the same direction as income. We have now decomposed the consumer's change in behavior into two parts. The consumer begins at bundle A, and, purely because of the change in trade-offs she faces, she moves to bundle B. But then, because she's also losing real income, she moves from B to C. The move from A to B gives us the substitution effect, which points in the direction of choosing less gasoline as the price of gasoline increases. This is as it always is for substitution effects. Substitution effects always tell us the consumer will consume less of a good that's become relatively more expensive and more of a good that's become relatively cheaper. The movement from B to C, on the other hand, is a movement from a higher to a lower budget without a change in opportunity costs, and therefore represents the income effect. We have assumed here that gasoline, or miles driven, is a normal good. Thus, as income falls from the green to the magenta budget line, the consumer consumes less gasoline, or fewer miles driven. For this particular case, then, the substitution and the income effects point in the same direction. It is often a little mysterious at first to see why it is that economists care about decomposing real behavioral changes into income and substitution effects. After all, it would seem that we should care about what really happens in the world, which is the move from A to C, not what would happen if we gave compensation, which is the move from A to B, or what would further happen if we removed the compensation that we never gave in the first place. As it turns out, however, and I hope you'll see this in the upcoming chapters, there are many instances where the distinction between income and substitution effects is fundamental to what microeconomics has taught us. It's particularly important in many policy discussions, as we'll see in upcoming settings.